As ready as you can be. Hello, everybody. Karen here from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. And with Tina, we're here to welcome a friend of ours and colleague and all the things, our cosmic sister, if you will. We have Iris here just for an informal chat about everything and anything that's going on. So welcome, Iris.
Thank you.
Channel.
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, us too.
We're really excited that you're here.
Yeah. I think
There's
we
a
need
knowing,
to,
isn't there?
yeah, it's good to have people on who you just like as people, if you don't know already, Tina had posted a video recently of Iris's session that had a lot of very interesting and profound information. So if you haven't seen it, I guess Tina will link it down below, or it'll be linked somewhere in this video. So yeah, we were just talking a little bit before we hopped on this recording about time and weird things happening like that are manifesting in our reality. So for me personally, I hate it. I'm pissed. It doesn't sound like it. It doesn't
I'm pissed.
I'm pissed, okay? No, it's really irritating about just the events and things that are just happening in our everyday lives. And we I what do we call it? Like a macaroni day. Like we get abducted and then we just go on with our day and go make macaroni and do things. That's what I call it. It's like when
I
we get
love that.
abducted. Yeah, when we get abducted, we're like, yeah, it's a macaroni day today.
There's so much to manage.
Going. Yeah, it is. It's
If
true.
we didn't have to manage this, it would be a completely different reality.
Right.
We have to learn how to manage it. And then we have to remember to manage it. And then we have to remind each other to manage it.
Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah,
No.
it's weird being in a reality because like a lot of stuff, I guess, like where I'm able to sit and reflect are here, in my room, in my office, and talking with people like you. But then there's the everyday where I have to go to the school and pick up my kids. I have to go to the pharmacy to go pick up some medicine, and I'm with people. And I'm like, how is it like people don't, they're just going on their day. They're not even looking at anything. And I'm like, I have like it boggles my mind how the world we can exist in one place. I guess this is like the whole thing. We can exist in one place, but we are not in the same place
I'm not
at
even
all.
sure if the place is the same anymore either.
No, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like there's this weird overlay where I'm, like an actor coming into a scene and I didn't get the lines. I don't know the premise of the context of the day,
Yeah.
and I'm there. It's crazy. I just feel like I don't belong anymore, or as
Thank
if the
goodness.
matrix is rejecting me, like how we would reject a foreign object. I feel like I'm being rejected.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
That's a profound. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tina.
No, go ahead.
That was a profound thing you just said. It does. Dolores, she called it bifurcation, right? Bifurcation. And I don't want to align with too much of any kind of like thing right now that says this is what's happening. I don't want to. And it looks like there is, like you call it, a spitting out. I call it an emergence. That we are becoming, according to something that the linear mind can't make any sense out of. Because if it could, it would just destroy it. It would just disintegrate it. And then we believe whatever the mind was telling us. So it's sort of nice not to know what's going on.
No, I agree. I'm just kind of going with my own script, but it doesn't fit anywhere at all. That's the thing that I'm trying to be like, okay, it's uncomfortable, but I'm gonna keep going with it because it's making people get off their own script too, which is fun to see. So it's like a whole life of improv.
Great word for you. Improv.
Improv, yeah.
I'm just thinking as you're talking.
Yeah. How's everybody's night? Anyone get abducted last
I thought I was telling you, but maybe it was Tina. I'm back to 4 hours of sleep a night,
Oh,
which
yes.
I don't like at all. And I can handle it sometimes, but when I can't handle it is when, like last night, the stomach was just doing this ongoing trembling. It was responding to something, or was saying something to me that the left brain kept saying, well, you're just anxious, right? Well, no, no,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
no, there's something happening, and so the body, the central nervous system, is saying something about what's happening to us. And in my case, it's trembling. It's what happens. So when that happens, it's a big deal. How were your nights?
I couldn't sleep last night. I didn't fall asleep till like 5 this morning.
Boy.
Yeah. But actually the days leading up to this, I was talking to you guys, but I'll just share it with everyone. I was experiencing these like massive blasts of energy coming at us, me and Coco, because it's like we would respond at the same time. Like he would get up and start shaking his head, and I would have this like huge rush of heat that would come through my body.
Like they're cooking you.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Um, so that was really intense. What was it, 2 days ago?
Mm-hmm.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
And what was such a confirmation for me was because Coco's been having this thing with his ears and the head shaking for a long time now. And I've suspected that it's frequencies or some kind of energy attacks or five, whatever, we all
Mm-hmm.
know. So I couldn't figure out if it was just that or if it was like directed at us.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day I watched a friend's dog, and it was interesting because as soon as she came here, she also started shaking her head, just like Coco, and they would do it at the same time. And what was interesting too is that we went for a walk. So we were out of the apartment, and behind us is a water tower with those panels on it. And sometimes, like, there are turkey hawks that come here every winter. They lay on the roofs to get the sun, they hang out, and sometimes they gather on the water tower. Well, they were there. And then all of a sudden, they all flew off at the same time. And as that happened, both dogs started shaking their heads, and I had a wave of heat come through my body.
Gosh, so it's like a pulse.
Yeah, they're like pulses. Yeah. So that was confirmation for me that it's definitely frequency related, that, whatever's Coco's so sensitive to it, right? So like some nights he'll wake up. So that night, especially, he woke up every 2 hours and just starts running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Like he's just like being buzzed. Like it's crazy, and can't relax and shaking his head like he's in pain, and he just wants to get out. Like he just wants to get out and run. So, and when that happens to him at the same time, I'm woken up from my sleep with one of those big rushes of energy. So we're waking up at the same time. So yeah, so that's been going on a lot. But then Karen and I tuned in to see, where is this coming from? And we saw something so strange. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And if we are making it up, then we're making it up. I don't know. But so along with all of those weird things that are happening that we can't see, around my apartment complex, there are these little ships, for lack of a better word. I don't know what to call them other than ships. They're just these little vehicles that fly around in the sky at night. They have blinking lights, sometimes just red, sometimes red and white. Sometimes they even appeared to be like screened. They look like small planes. And sometimes they're helicopters. The other night, I swear to you, I opened my door, and this has been happening a lot. And this helicopter appeared out of nowhere. It's like it slipped right into this dimension. It was a black helicopter. It was nighttime. Black helicopter slipped. It's literally, it happens right in front of my place when I open the door. It slips right into this dimension as if just for me to see it. But it's very physical, and you can hear it, and you could feel the vibration of it, and you can see it.
It's like silent and then helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. It's not like a subtle like coming in.
No.
No.
It's just all of a sudden there.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was strange because it was all black. And usually they'll have like a white lead light on it as if to like see where they're going. This didn't have that at all. It just had like these red lights underneath of it. And it flew directly over me.
What were you noticing?
Well, what I noticed with that and these ships is those waves of energy that come through.
Did you get a hot flash at that moment too?
Mm-hmm.
You should
Yeah.
start doing a journal of what time, what happens, like what if you get a hot flash, if Coco gets an effect too, and you should invite the neighborhood dogs over
To
just to
see if,
see,
yeah.
or ask the neighbors if they notice it, or to I don't know if they would pay attention.
Right. Well,
But
that's the thing. Who's paying attention?
What is your
Um,
knowing thing, Tina?
by knowing saying that they're direct energetic attacks
Targeting
on me.
on you. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
mhm.
I'm feeling that also.
Yeah.
It's
So
go ahead.
go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, you go. I can wait.
So yeah, it's really strange. And sometimes you'll look up at the sky and you can see 10 or 12 of these things flying around.
Hmm.
All of the same. I mean, Karen, you've seen them.
Yeah.
And you've seen these weird planes that only fly at night. And they always come from the same direction, and they fly directly over.
Right. Oh, well, remember when we walked Coco that one time, just across the
Oh, yeah.
street, and there's two planes that just flew over us at the same time, and we're like, do not consent. But then we got sick that night.
Yeah.
I don't know if they sprayed a bunch of chemicals or energy or whatever the case is, little sprinkles of shit on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so blatant and so obvious. It was kind of like yesterday I was when I was kind of like reflecting because my daughter was complaining about her pain on her leg, and I was driving home because we were going to go right before we went to the emergency. I wasn't paying attention. I was just kind of frazzled and stressed. And then I was at a red light, and all of a sudden this U-Haul passes me without and it caught my attention. Of course, I look up, and the it's passing, and there's three snakes on the U-Haul. And I was like, fuck you, and like, get out of my face. I see you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
What
That
I've been looking at, and just this is thank you for this conversation. You're right, it is going to make a difference because our energies have not met like this before, right? And so this conversation is going to offer something that has not happened yet here, at least in this timeline. And as you're talking, I want to offer the kinds of things I've been pondering just lately, probably as a result of the time with Tina. Two things. If there is a direct targeting approach, the question is, what about us is creating that? Hold on, there's one more thing. Things move so quickly in my head.
I hear you.
I'll be right back. I just got to pull this out. You can probably edit this one out anyway.
Oh, we're not editing, Iris.
You're not editing? Are you kidding me?
No, it's okay. No pressure. I mean,
We'll just pretend we're
Very
editing.
funny. Okay, well, the second thing is going to have to come back. And
Okay.
it's really related. It's really related. But this is the thing. This is the second part. What, and maybe each of you can comment in your own knowing what it looks like to be, what your understanding is of why it may be a direct targeting thing, right? And the second part of that is, for me, I believe that not right now, I believe that we may be sometimes becoming ill because we don't have a frequency antidote yet that is stabilized in the field in a way that is grounded and aware and connected enough where we are not impacted. So my sense is that one of the things that's happening here is that we're being looked at with some real concern with the whatever these beings are doing what they're doing in an effort to stop the antidote of the frequency antidote from actually taking place and becoming a power or a force, which it is anyway, because we came in with it. We're just in the process of recovering it, remembering it, and then becoming it. And I think we need conversations like this. We need a few other people that are ponderers, but also they're growing as fast as they can in awareness.
Yeah.
That makes some sense, right? I
Yeah.
think. Okay,
Yes,
good. I'm
absolutely.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because we're source players and going off script, and we're not playing the game anymore. We're playing our own fucking game, and I'm gonna fucking play it. Play my hand. I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm gonna double down. Hear me.
Yeah. You know how the word renegade has such a horrible charge to it. And I imagine that in the old earth, the people that aren't here for these kinds of conversations are calling people like us renegades. And I think we're much, much more than that. I think we're remembering a matrix that is a lost ancient way of being.
Mhm.
I stake my life on that.
Yeah. I think we become a threat to the system when we go off script.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
real
they even made a
threat.
movie about it.
Which
What
one?
movie?
Adjustment Bureau.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Yeah, that's with Matt Damon. You should watch it, Iris.
I will.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's about going off script
Okay.
Yeah.
and really using your true free will without any manipulation.
So my thing is, even with these words, without something that is non-dual, do we find ourselves in opposition to, as opposed to an arising of something bigger? I mean, I'm looking at you too, and you've got minds that I rarely see, or if I'm lucky, even have a conversation with.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Good question.
I don't want to be in opposition. I don't want to use my energy that way.
No, I think it's just as I feel as though if we are to continue the self-empowerment and remain sovereign, then that's when you're not opposing, you're just being. You're just standing as a pillar in your space and holding it there. I'm not here to like fight any bad guys, but I'm here to just stand my ground and tell them don't screw with me. That's
So
it,
that stance can coexist with what I'm finding out for myself, right? It doesn't have to be an either or.
Yeah.
No, I think you can just be, as long as you're in your truth, you're authentic, you're healing, you're, detaching yourself from the matrix, like, all the things that are holding you into the matrix.
I will
That,
say this
yeah, go
though,
ahead.
like I think that state of being is in essence in opposition to this place. And I think that's
Paradoxically.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
I
like
want
you
to
can
live in
hold
a
it all at
world that
once.
doesn't live like that. So and that makes me really strange, That's why I don't have Anyway, I want to say that I think that without what you both represent, we wouldn't have a population that can find their way, because it just wouldn't be possible without someone narrating from a place of this empowerment that you're talking about.
Yeah. I feel as though like how we got to this space is really exploring and taking information and seeing how that feels while actively doing the inner work, because then we're not staying to one belief system. We're kind of holding on to many belief systems or holding all possibilities without being attached to any of them.
Yeah.
So that way we can get to where we are, so we can see things in a much more broader sense instead of a closed, limited belief or belief systems, whatever. It's, we don't really believe in anything or everything. We're open to everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I don't know how that works. But it just is. I mean, like we have no
Yeah.
attachment. It's kind of like we get information, we're like, okay, that's interesting. That could be. Maybe, you
I
know,
just
that sounds
want,
actually more closer to the truth than yesterday, you know?
I would hope so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Otherwise, it's like, what the hell are we doing here? Where I get into, well, I don't want to call it trouble because that's not a good word. Where I find myself challenged as a human, an awakening human, is when I say I am moving toward living in a world that doesn't survive on contrast, and it pisses people off because you know, in an older world, that's what we've got. We've got contrast, good guys, bad guys, right, wrong, black and white, love and hate, right? Even my language, when I talk about an antidote, it's still dualistic language. What is the antidote to what's happening here? I'm trying to get beyond all of it. And so I'm not exactly a wordsmith, but I play with words that feel like they're evoking something beyond all this. And I don't know what kind of job I'm doing, to be honest, because, you know, up until I started hanging out with you, I never even watched an abduction movie. I didn't care about it. It wasn't part of my reality. And here, you know, the lost time lands me right in your field, having these conversations and then having the abduction thing happen. So I don't know where any of this stands either.
Do you really think that was your first time?
No, I don't. And the only reason I say that is because of the life I've lived that appears to have been one of mental illness, and for years and years and years. And I understand now that it was the collective human condition that saw somebody struggling under unbearable psychic burdens, that just didn't know how to deal. So she didn't, you know, she just did all kinds of other things instead. And then she shattered. But I see a lot of star seeds coming in and shattering, because we come from so far away, and we come from such incredible oneness civilizations that we get here, you know, whether we agreed or not, and there's a shattering. And I think when I got here, my mind shattered, and that made me really susceptible to all this other stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, this place will do that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we could leave there with some souvenirs that say that.
Yeah.
So Iris, I think it's interesting how all of this kind of came about, because you initially came to me because we connected on the forum because we were both struggling with symptoms. And you came to me to connect for a session. And in your first session, we saw that there were frequencies involved, you know, the 5, whatever. involved in the activation of your symptoms, which was just one little piece of the puzzle, it seems.
Mhm.
And then doing that second session, that was really mind-blowing for me. And so many things fell into place for me after that. Like, it was just like this river of information coming through.
Mhm.
So I'm curious how you felt about that second session and what that brought up for you.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that. I mean, I've sort of been pondering all along. There's been the first word that comes to me is a lot of sorrow that
Mhm.
these amazing fine minds that we possess and the hearts that we possess are acting out some kind of really bizarre scenario here
Mhm.
and trying to find our way out. I think I shouldn't say I think I needed the piece. I needed the piece that disclosed what is possible when, and this is my language, when someone is actively awakening, and what it does to the old earth people. We know who they are, and how somehow it grabs their attention and creates a scenario that tries to squash. And that really pisses me off, because I'm not really here for this. I'm here to enlighten. I'm here to enlighten from the oneness field. That's been my whole thing anyway, my entire life. And so what do I find out? I find out that people that are awakening and committed, loving, coming from very ancient frequencies, and are remembering those frequencies, are suspect to the other people, which means that we're a force.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm understanding from that session, that I believe that matching the frequency that is currently in place terrorizing people will permit us to get beyond all of this and bridge to the golden era. That's what I'm here for. And and I've been called all kinds of things, like Pollyanna, it's a good one, right? But I'm, and a dreamer and all those other words, right? But that session with Tina showed me what happens when we are all in doing what we love, being what we want to be, in a world that is still dualistic, hopefully bridging to a non-dual reality. The opposite end of that dualistic spectrum is going to get a little irritated. And because they've been developing this other story that they've got, and they seem at times more aware than we are, they can throw darts and sometimes hit the target. And my thing is, how do we remember our awareness of paradise, which I believe we've all come from? And I believe paradise is non-dual. So that's as far as I've gotten. But that session, I believe that session created some fallout for me, for my cat, for a few friends that watched the video. One of my friends who works in the city, I think the next day he said that he felt as if he were revisiting what are we calling that thing? Whatever that thing is.
The plague?
The plague, thank you.
Like,
So, right, he felt like he was revisiting the plague. He knows he was not, but he felt that because we were making a difference here, that it was opening up the ethers of that particular timeline, pissing some people off. And this, my friend, who's very aware and beautiful being, picked up in his own psyche, because he's one of the targeted ones at night, wakes up gasping, for example. He was one of the people that was almost killed in the hospital. Am I allowed to say that?
Sure.
I guess we'll find out. It's different. I really hope you were joking about not editing, because I don't know how to do this.
No, that's good. Unfiltered Iris.
Unfiltered. Yeah.
I love talking about I love talking about love, because the words don't matter. It's an alchemy, right? It's something about the alchemy of awakening that is so much more powerful than this other story. But we have to find our way, and we have to contribute. And that's why I respect you both so much.
If honestly, thank you. If it were up to me, I would have just, stayed watching my rom-coms and not fight demons. Like, this is not the path I ever imagined myself would be on. Ever. I thought I was going to retire at the hospital where I had worked, and I was going to continue there and do this for fun. But no. You just don't realize. I think that's where we went off script, or at least when I went off script, was when I quit the Matrix job to do this full time, and then that's when things started to get a little funky along the way, or at least the truth was starting to unravel in a lot more,
I think
more obvious.
I think we're just more aware of the funkiness.
That's it. That's what I mean. Like,
It's
it's always been
there.
there. It's just that we have more time to be aware of it, instead of going with the grind of the 9 to 5, and then, being so tired that they're like, well, she's tired anyway. Zip. They go through the belly button. I don't know. Like, we don't know what they do. So, oh yeah, Tina, if you didn't say like what the kind of stuff that we found the other day, like when we
Oh,
tapped in.
yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, my body was activated too after posting that session. And so I went in to see what's happening here. And basically it started taking me back through my timeline and showing me all the connections of how. Do you hear feedback?
I do.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't right now.
No, it was showing me all the connections on how I ended up, I guess, at rock bottom. Like, so it went all the way back to my childhood where there was sexual abuse. That actually ended up being the opening for this to happen. And then the abduction started. And these beings set me up for a lifetime of trauma, mental illness, depression, anxiety, symptoms. I had symptoms of PTSD. I remember my doctor telling me, you have PTSD. I mean, he was just a GP, right? He was just giving out drugs. Like, he wasn't doing anything. He was just diagnosing,
like a professional pusher,
and giving out drugs. That's what he was doing. So he started me on Xanax for my PTSD, which we have no idea where this PTSD comes from. I'm like, why would I have PTSD? That doesn't, like, why? So, but now I know that it was from those abductions, and that those symptoms that were arising in my body in my 20s were from a lifetime of that. And so then getting prescribed those drugs sent me down a path of addiction, getting addicted to them, and led me down a really dark path after that. But even more so than that, when I was 13 years old and got my period, it was like the worst thing that had ever happened. It was excruciating pain. I remember falling to the floor. It was so bad. It was so, so bad. And, you know, it never made sense to me. How could that happen? Like to a 13-year-old, like where would this end? Because basically endometriosis is when the lining of the uterus begins to grow outside of the uterus in the pelvic cavity. And it causes pain because it's like scar tissue and it attaches to all the organs that are around there and just kind of makes a big
Webs itself out.
web of a mess. So there's all this pain involved. And so from that point on, it was constant pain for me, constant pain. And, you know, my parents never took me to the doctor. So it was kind of just like deal with it. It was like, I didn't get that diagnosis of endometriosis till my 20s. So for 10 years, I was dealing with that level of pain. The one thing that saved me was in my freshman year of high school. There was a girl who sat next to me, and I was in so much pain and bleeding so much in school, Catholic school. And she was like, yeah, she's like, my doctor told me to take 4 Advil. And I was like, oh, really? You can do that? And she was like, yeah, take 4 Advil. So I started taking 4 Advil, and it was
And never looked
literally
back.
never looked back. It was like a lifesaver, but it was the only thing I had. It was the only thing I had that would even begin to touch that level of pain. And even that, like by the time I was in my 20s, the pain was so far past the 4 Advil. Like I couldn't
Ugh,
function.
can't imagine.
So then, you know, came the prescriptions for painkillers,
Hmm.
opiate painkillers. So you add Xanax with painkillers, and that's a really bad cocktail. So, you know, I'm dealing with all of these symptoms in my 20s that are arising, PTSD. So, and not just the mental anguish, not knowing where that's coming from, coming out with panic attacks, literally came out of nowhere one day. And I'm like, what is happening? And yeah, so that started to happen. I started to get physical symptoms that were arising in my body that did not seem related to the endometriosis. They were more autoimmune like.
Mhm.
So it was like just this massive cocktail of a mess that was happening. So what was coming through that day was like just showing me the connections, how all of this played out and how they set me up for that like path of destruction, and never thought I would pull myself out of it. So that was what I saw in the morning when I did that. And then my body calmed down. But then that night it got really bad. I literally felt like I was pregnant. Like my stomach was swollen. Like I sent Karen a picture. Like it was out there. And I just had all this pressure in my abdomen. So
Tina, are you talking about the day after our session?
it was the day after I posted it.
Huh. Thank you for detailing that, because I didn't know all this. I knew some of it, but not much.
Yeah. It's hard to write in text, you know, because we haven't talked since then. So that night, Karen goes in to see what's happening, like energetically. And I really, honestly, I can't even remember it all because there was so much happening. Do you remember it?
Oh, that text. Okay, why is there feedback? Are we like being recorded on a spaceship or something? It sounds like we're in a spaceship.
I know.
Karen, when you're saying feedback, what does that mean? Because I'm
Like
not.
I hear like when I hear like sounds
Talking.
like walkie-talkie, like
Really?
yeah, I feel
Only
like
one of the two of you and not me.
Maybe because you don't have earphones in.
Okay.
yeah. What did we see? I saw a lot of weird stuff. Oh yeah, I tapped into the inside of her body and I saw like I think the scar tissue. There was like what parasites like within the scar tissue, and the parasites within the not the parasites, the scar tissue inside look like glyphs. I think I got the
Yeah.
word glyph, and these words came out. I don't remember. They were like not
Oh,
English words.
no, it was torrent of trophoblasts. Torrent of trophoblasts came out.
Yeah, which means like
Wait, I'm gonna find the text.
yeah. I anyway, I usually like when she's like that. Thankfully, we have the luxury of being able to check each other and, you know, clear each other if we need. When both of us are down, we have like what one or two trusted people to check us. There's not really many who know the protocol or who know like the demon stuff, like and how to check for the funny things. So yeah. Um even my kids, they know how to do it, which is good. Like to tap in to see. Like they're able to not see, but they can sense it. Or if I just get them to be in a state of um not even relaxation, just closing their eyes and tuning in, they're able
Mm.
to tap in and see. So at least for them, they can help themselves, which is why like when my daughter was in pain about her leg, I told her, I go, close your eyes and just see what's in there. And so she was explaining, she's like, there's some dirty water in here. I go, okay, so just like drain out the dirty water, and then when it's done, I go, you could fill it with whatever color you want and whatever that feels like. And so, and then when she did that, she's like, oh, the pain's better.
That's just so
So
beautiful.
yeah, so just like little things like that that people can use, like even through imagination. I never took their imagination away from them.
Mm.
I let them flourish with it, like use it. It's a tool. It's your weapon.
She's getting ready to say something over there.
Oh yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this crazy stuff started to come through. So yeah, the glyphs, right? And yeah, you said that whatever was dying, there was like, because I was doing like some parasite cleansing at the time. You said that they were leaving like a toxic type energy behind that the system was fighting off. Um,
So like dead parasite energy.
yeah, dead parasite energy. There was something in the liver like an upside down hammer, and there was that Yoda energy. So this Yoda energy we've seen related to abductions in many sessions before. And this energy was present that day when Karen tapped in, which
Oh
she,
yeah.
do you remember that?
Now I do, yes. When you just said that, I could see it now.
Yeah. The word glyph came through, communicates through the frequencies of the glyphs. I feel like you said, I feel like there's something written out in the scar tissue of your body. There is writing within the body. And the words torrent, Torrent, trophoblasto came through, which is very specific, right?
Right.
So, of course, torrent means like a violent or rushing stream. And trophoblasto is the trophoblast is a membrane that forms the wall of the blastocyte in the early development of the fetus.
That's really good work, Karen.
Oh, thank you.
Really good.
So I'm like, okay, where's this fucking fetus coming from? Because I'm not pregnant, at least
But you
not by a
felt,
human.
but you felt pregnant.
I felt pregnant. Yeah.
Can you take that further right now? Can you go with that?
Yeah. I felt like there was a baby inside of me, but it was not a human
Oh,
baby.
that's when I was tapping in. I was like, oh, but then we kind of put together that if we have, I think, was it relative to like us feeling the matrix or where we are in the matrix pod?
Yeah. But
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
also saw some kind of like weird fuzzy gray being or something. And this is interesting too, because these words were coming through. So these
Mm.
crow tinus came through. Tinus refers to a spider, a nursery web spider.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and we were talking about the webs
The webs of the
and the dark feminine.
endometriosis
Yeah, and dark feminine always comes up for us as a spider.
is a spider. Yeah. Yeah. And then when I looked up crow, it was a series of tips or tricks. It means to hack.
So like your
So
system was hacked.
it felt like my system was hacked. Yeah.
Are you describing a memory that the body carried in the scar tissue that rose as a result of the day after or the posting, that just helped something come up to show you something
Yeah.
that Karen was able to identify and contribute to?
Yeah.
Did anything have to be, quote, done with that? Or was that enough just to have it rise up?
Well, it was the rising up, and then Karen helped me to clear it. Yeah. And it took a couple days to clear out, like it, just in the last I don't know, when was this? When did we post that session? Anyway,
Last week?
I finally
Yeah.
feel like my stomach feels like back to normal now. Like, because there was so much pain and pressure inside, but it was like all of this energy that was clearing out from the past, from all of this like weird stuff they had done inside of my
Yeah.
system. And it was so entangled. There were so many things coming forward. It was like just this big knot of all of these entangled energies. And it felt
Yeah.
like it was all clearing out. Like when it said torrent, it reminded me of like, okay, well, it's clearing because it's streaming, right? It's running out this torrent of fetal cells.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
well, remember, like when I was saying, I don't remember to what context it was, but I was saying like, oh, when we did the other time when I was clearing you last night, I was there in Jersey, and we were able to see the other abduction
Mm,
and how they were actively taking cells to create a uterus outside of the body.
mm,
And so it probably, like, I think like the way that I understood it is that if they are using your tissues to create a uterus and to have a baby, in this uterus outside of your body, that because your cells are still actively in communication because they're your cells, you would feel it in the physical.
right.
So there's some, there are intelligence because it's like our body is very intelligent.
Yeah.
All parts are able to communicate, which is why
Right.
I do believe, yes, like you said, like we're able to find ourselves, find our pod, find our matrix pod or whatever to take that energy out and be like, okay, come get out. Get out.
Yeah. So there were even more layers to that came forward. So the glyphs were gold magic glyphs. And these gold magic glyphs are like 1,000 times stronger than black magic. It's like they hide the black magic using these gold glyphs because they look pretty, right? But it's an
Yeah, it's
illusion.
like gaslight,
Yeah.
visual gaslight.
Yeah. And so here, Iris, you mentioned the black pearl to me, and this is where the black pearl came in because Karen saw that there was like a black ball in my ovary. It was like it looked like a black pearl. And you said it felt like a representation of the void. And everything was happening, like there were just so many, there was like a thick cord behind that pearl. You said you felt like it acted like a device to pull in my biological information to keep the clone uterus alive and strong. You're like, I don't know how to explain that.
Even hearing it, I'm like, hmm. Yeah.
I think some of these things just are can stand alone. You know, I don't know about, like, for me, like, further explaining things doesn't always, we're so overwhelmed with so many words. But what I'm seeing coming from the two of you is very concise images and language that doesn't have to be just described ad nauseum, because they're so powerful just the way they stand.
So
A lot
that
of
was,
information.
yeah. So that was really interesting. That was a really interesting experience
Mm-hmm.
because I have the way that endometriosis grows outside of the uterus, it literally has grown all the way up my body. Like I can feel it up here in my body and stuff. So when that activates, it's full body pain. So that's always been really interesting. But so I really think the cause for that was the abductions and whatever kind of fuckery they did with my reproductive system, whatever they were doing and using it for. And that set me up for PTSD and pain and then addiction later and everything that followed after that until finally, I woke up in my late 30s.
Yeah.
I have a
So
lot of the same words in my story. Not the endometriosis part, but the addiction, definitely the PTSD, the mental illness, all those words that we use to, because we're trying to make sense out of something that can't be made sense out of, not with ordinary language, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the whatever you want to call those guys, I think that they were gambling that I was just gonna continue to consider myself completely stark fucking raving mad. And that would be a really easy way just to stay that way, because
Yes.
everybody else thought I was too. I mean, not everybody,
We
but
kind of
most
are.
people, huh?
We kind of are.
Well, we kind of are, but that's not what I'm talking about, though. I know you know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different. It's like that again, that word contrast. Coming in and obeying, aligning with a matrix that basically just intends for us to stay down. I don't think we can stay sane in that matrix. I think it's completely normal to have a response that looks like we're insane. I just
Mm-hmm.
do. And I know that when with my own client people, when they approach with trying to make sense out of what's happening with them, and I just remind them that it's a normal response to break down in a matrix that is so opposite life.
yeah.
And there's a relief in
Mm-hmm.
that. I think it takes a lot of energy still to sustain an awareness. And I think that's why we have conversations like this, because they're
Mm-hmm.
really helpful, really helpful.
Yes.
They restore a field, a memory field that is not even a memory, it's a reality, a living reality. And just even a conversation like this starts the alchemical story rolling. And pretty soon it's like Pac-Man. It's like all this shit's just eaten up. That's what I'm planning on anyway.
That's a good
I
visual.
think it's the hardest thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being here at this particular timeline, I shouldn't say that because I don't know. It just feels like it.
It is hard. I used to look around at people and just like I wonder, it was amazing to me. I'm like, how is everyone just functioning normally? Like this is normal. But I used to internalize that and be like, why can't I do that? Why
Right.
can't I be normal? Why can't I just like get my
Right.
groceries and pick up the kids? Like whatever, like just do all of these things without being so
In your
anxious and
head.
depressed and
Yeah.
yeah, but
What's
it
the word
was
you use, Karen?
In your head.
Oh,
Like just because it's like two narratives, what your body's doing and what's going on upstairs. Because you're just trying to navigate, you're doing it, but you're like, why do I have to do this? Like you're fighting yourself. Why? Like it's always the why. Why is it like that? Why does it have to be like that? It's not because like it's not I find it again like I would reject it and I couldn't fake it. I couldn't fake some realities where I'm like it's just like that and I'm like that's not a good enough answer for me. If you can just tell me like logically or in some way, even if you were to bullshit or like tell me the truth, even if it's a shit answer, I'd rather have that than to tell me that it's just what it is. Because that's not true. That's just bullshit and lazy.
It's
Yeah.
definitely not true. It's almost like it's like the stance of a whole population that are robotic. They've just become, they've just obeyed.
Absolutely. And I saw it very clearly. I mean, like, I think that's why I was even like when we talk about being rejected by the Matrix, like when the pandemic happened, I was in the workforce at the hospital. That is what threw me out completely to see everybody in a stark panic. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, why? Like, just watching them run through their own internal fears and programs and shaming others if they're not conforming to the rules. And I'm like, but yesterday the rule wasn't like that. And all of a sudden, like, it was like when I was at the pharmacy today. I was sitting in the little waiting room waiting for them to call me. Next to the waiting room, there's a nursing door, like where, you see the nurse if you need to. And it said, if you come into the door, you have to put a mask on. That's obligatory. But before it, you don't. And I'm like, I saw a man come in. He had an appointment with the nurse, no mask on. And then he was like, oh, hello. And he's like putting it on. And I'm like, what is happening? And she welcomed him at the door. So I'm like, why all of a sudden it's like you're contagious in the door? Like when you walk into that portal or it exists in that portal. But then upon exiting, I'm like, you're coming and contaminating the rest of us. Like if it is that narrative. It's
Just
just weird stuff.
totally
Weird.
crazy making is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It's weird stuff. And it doesn't, and when I
Embarrassment,
question, yeah, and when I question the
humiliation.
narrative, they're like, it's just like that. I'm like, but come on, logically. And they're like, those are just the rules. I'm like, yes, but can you just admit that it's stupid? Just say it instead of saying, well, that's just how it is. Those are the rules. Yeah, but that's just how the government. I go, stop talking about the outside just for you as a being to admit that this is stupid. If you can just say that, I'll be happy. Just to say, yes, it's very dumb. Thank you. Thank you. You made my day. But they
Well,
can't say it.
let's talk about the plague for a minute because
Yeah, let's. It's still here. Side note, I went to go visit my friend, my old coworker at the hospital. We went for lunch and then I passed by the hospital after to see one more other friend of mine. And she's like, we can't go through that main door still. I'm like, why? And she's like, because the plague is still happening. Because the plague. And I'm like looking at her, I'm like, I go, that's still happening here? I go, I haven't even heard that, or like it's not part of my reality. So I'm like, that's still happening here? You're still in that storyline? It's like watching a soap opera, like Days of Our Lives. You could watch it like 2 months before and come back 2 months later, and it's still kind of continuing from that point. It hasn't evolved. There's no evolution. But anyway, sorry, go ahead. I just thought that was like not my reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying, Tina?
I was
About
just gonna say, like, the really big part of your session, Iris, was learning that your symptoms were being caused by that abduction, that 9 hours, during that 9 hours of missing time.
yeah, that blew my mind too, that you had 9 hours of missing time. I experienced a loss of time too, not nearly as close to you, but enough for me in the physical time to be like, I think I'm not sure what happened to me.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happened to me. So when
Yeah.
Tina was saying 9 hours. I was like, holy Toledo.
You know, what's even more bizarre is that I had decided that it was just a sinus infection, and I just needed a rest. But it's like it didn't add up. But I told myself that that was true.
Yeah, it's soothing. You're just like, well, sinuses will do that to you.
Yeah,
Lose time. I'll pass out, miss some appointments. Yeah, it's crazy what we tell ourselves in order to justify them. Because I think that if we were able to sit with that for a moment in a reality like where it's like, okay, I had lost time, what happened? It's like, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Hangover, but it's like them waking up from their hangover and not knowing what happened the night before.
yeah, yeah,
Like no recollection, but you see, like you meet people who say, hey, I saw you yesterday, and you have no recollection of it. Like, what did I
yeah.
do? What did I say? What have I done? Yeah.
Session started off with, I guess allegor is the right word, where I was looking at handcuffs on a cave wall. And I think that that was just that my psyche's way of pointing to a really big thing that happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still trying to make sense out of it, because the mind is so circuitous in terms of what it still believes. And
Mm-hmm.
it really believes what it believes, right? So
Yeah.
this material rests really well with my soul and my greater totality really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just going to take some time for it to integrate and blow out the neural pathways of the old existence.
Yes.
But then that leaves a whole bunch of other questions, right?
Always.
I mean, I know other
Always.
people that started out with, quote, sinus infections and ended up with the plague.
Mm.
And I always felt that the frequency switch was part of that process. And when I started to get to know Tina a little bit on the side, that was becoming more obvious, that there's a lot of truth in that, even though we didn't have everything lined up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there is a lining up. Do you think there's a lining up here? I don't know.
I don't know. I think that it's different for everyone. There are similarities among cases, but I think, yeah, I'm feeling like it's different for everyone, and also feeling at the same time that what happened to you and what happened to Karen and I too is happening way more than we know. Way, 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 way more than we know. And well, like, we're just lucky that I happened to become conscious during that experience. Otherwise, we would have woke up sick the next morning and be like, what
I
the
was
hell
already
happened?
sick. I already was attuning it to having fever, or not fever dreams, but like, well, what we would call fever dreams, because I was so delirious. I felt delirious.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
talking about after the concert experience, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my body already is really sensitive that when I know I'm getting sick, it's never just a simple sickness. I get it really bad, like how you experienced me being sick, that bad. It's never been a simple sickness for me ever in my life. It's always like that, where I'm incapacitated and unable to function. The first time I had, or what I suspect to have been the plague, before it was even announced, early 2020. Um, Me too. Like I was just functioning. I mean, I had to function, but I was out of it, completely out of it for 4 days with high fever, and I still had my children because it wasn't a thing at the time. It was just a flu, and I was taking care of them, picking them up at school, doing the whole thing. But you just go with it. It's the macaroni part of the life. You have no choice but to keep going. And if you have no help, you have no help.
Have either of you come across, so you got the plague before early on 2020. I got the plague at the very end of 2020 with the lost time. Have you come across other people that either since the session or even in the last couple of years that are talking this kind of narrative where 2 years ago something happened, they were sort of okay, just had an infection, they wake up the next morning and they're basically just gone, like a switch.
I feel as though had you not mentioned that you were out for like 9 hours, for me, I would have not, I guess in my experience of me being delirious would be a normal thing because when I talk to people about them, they're just like, yeah, it was a really bad one where I was having fever dreams. Like they would use the same lingo as me. So it could very well be the exact same thing where it is technically kind of lost time, except not fully unconscious of it.
But
But
nobody's recovering memory. Yeah.
yeah, like it's just kind of programmed to be like, I'm really sick and this is my symptoms. That's what happened. And then like a light switch back to normal. So it could very well be that people are experiencing it to a certain degree where you could be where the reality's not you're not sure of your reality because you're so sick, or you're completely unconscious.
So
But
as you're talking, oops, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Well,
It's
it
okay.
just I find it, I don't have the right word right now, but I'm talk, Iris. There's something about the enormity of what we're talking about and how if somebody doesn't have anything in place to navigate what they discover, then it wouldn't even be a kindness to them to uncover anything.
Right.
So is it possible that these kinds of conversations, these experiences, your experience, my experience, are meant to build like a database for the right people to find or to make their way to the two of you for further sessions, right? Because it's too big.
Mm-hmm.
It's too big to spend all these decades, even as I was awakening, like I remember being in college and I didn't even make it to my first class in Athens, Ohio. I ended up in a metaphysical bookstore and I hung out with a bunch of astrology books. It just like I was gone really early, but I was also carrying a genetic history of alcoholism and mental illness, rage and sorrow. And I bought the narrative. So I think those books and conversations and the work I've done have kept me sort of balanced, but to take myself over an edge where I drop the old story, that's a big deal. That takes a whole big way of being that I'm not sure how many people can really hear without the right support structures, the right rebar in place.
Yeah.
I think that's where you guys come in.
Yeah.
So I know I come in somewhere. I know I matter, with respect to this conversation, with respect to other people. It's almost like a deconditioning. But for me, and I don't know how to do this yet. I don't. For me, it's a state of awareness that sets in motion an awakening process for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just not that much of an interest,
Yeah.
not yet. But I figure, even if I transition out of here a year from now, there's still, it has to be offered, it has to be built, it has to be remembered. And so I really trust conversations like this, that what we even can't see, something is happening that is greater. And I believe they're dancing in the aisles in the heavens. I'm feeling it right now.
I'd like to think so. When I'm like,
Yeah.
help me.
It is It is. It's so massive what we're talking about, the implications of what we're talking about. That, I mean, I haven't found anyone to connect with about this besides you.
I haven't wrapped my head around it yet.
I
I'm
haven't.
I'm still kind of like I haven't turned the corner yet. I'm still just in it because like all this stuff is happening usually, like again, like we say, the people who come into our lives are a mirror to our own experiences or something along the lines. I know I've suspected, I have seen it, that I have been abducted from childhood as well, but not to the point where they've needed my uterus, or at least not that I'm aware of, because I don't have that same experience as Tina. I don't have proof like that. Um, I don't know what they wanted from me. I don't think we ever discovered that.
I think they
Or,
wanted your psychic abilities.
And
What
I think
they
they wanted your will.
oh,
You're really strong.
And you see
yeah.
yourself, you've seen yourself in these soldier military type scenarios. So that's an aspect of it too.
Oh,
So
well,
you're right. I think you're right, Iris.
they want my
Don't you think
soldier.
you have a profound will? It's pouring out of you.
I don't see myself like that yet, Iris.
You know,
Working on it.
I'm not crazy, am I? Right now?
No, you're not.
It's something that was
I call it passionate.
well, I'll use that word. I like that word. And that's why just before we got on for the last 24 hours, I've been saying, what is it about us and many others that aren't aware that would create such an interest that they would go to the lengths that they've gone? Because whatever we represent or are in the state of becoming or remembering is bigger than and here we are in an old earth matrix that is still in a gravity field of third dimension, third density, third dimension. And here we are remembering outside of the context of this reality. So right now, appearance, the illusion is that they still have something figured out that we don't. And I don't really fucking buy that.
Yeah.
It feels like it sometimes when I lapse and I start going, wow, Iris, you're, whatever I say about myself, I've got a big language about, crazy Iris, right? But it's not, it's changing.
I like Crazy Iris.
Thank you.
She's awesome.
Thank you very much.
It's the
So-
crazy,
so-
it's the crazy ones that change the world.
Yeah,
That's
right.
it.
But the crazy ones, I believe, have to walk out of the old story
Mm-hmm.
to reinvent the power of what that word means.
Yeah.
For me, it used to just be this really great romantic story. Oh yeah,
Yes.
Iris is great. She's crazy, right? She's crazy. She's a romantic. She's a 4 on the Enneagram. I had a whole list of words, right? And all they did was prop me up while my mind, through these goons, were telling me otherwise. And in an old earth matrix, the old earth matrix wins until we shatter that old earth matrix. And that's what I'm after. I want to walk out of this. And I know that I cannot do this in my little cottage, having conversations with my cat. Okay. I need conversations like this.
I think it would be a little slow, but I think that's better than people who have nothing, like who don't, it's not even
Agreed.
in their
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah. Well, even my cat got in on it a couple of nights ago. I'd fallen asleep around 9:30, and my cat starts throwing up on the bed, and I'm flailing around because it's dark, and I'm trying to make the cat get off the bed. Well, I lost, and I turned the light on, and I've only been asleep for 15 minutes. That's it. And I started swearing loudly, and the cat. I get back in bed, I get my books out because I know it's going to be a long night. And she just very sweetly gets on my stomach and just hangs out there for 3 hours. So she's doing her little witch cat thing, right? And I'm trying to stabilize enough to be able to go back to sleep. but my own narrative is saying, well, maybe this is okay. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be that I'm just being really messed with somewhere all the time. You know, maybe the light body is active and needs me awake, and so the cat decides to vomit all over the bed at 9:30 at night. You know, I just don't understand much.
Or the cat could be sensing that something's close by and had to wake
Also,
you up and be like, fucking
also,
wake up, Iris.
right.
They're at the door.
I want to make room for all of that to coexist.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm afraid I just run too much fear, and then I'm really vulnerable to all that crap.
Well, that's good that at least in recognizing the fear or the place where you're resisting is, again, we always say, if you feel the resistance, that's where you need to go look at it. Like follow the line of a resistance, not just where it always feels good. I think we can balance both, but at least to know, like, I don't know where I need work. Well, go to where you're resisting, because
Yeah,
that's
and
exactly
that's
what it is.
classic, and I love that.
Yeah. And I was thinking too, because I don't sleep very well at night either, but I feel as though I sleep the best, in the morning. Like after I drop my kids off to school, I sleep the best in those hours of the morning, 9 to 1, let's say. But it feels as though like when the world is awake and away, I can sleep. But at night, I feel as though, because if we are getting abducted at night, it's probably our bodies sensory or PTSD that is keeping us up because it's on high alert for those encounters.
And Tina or somebody said, just to add to what you just said, that, well, maybe I'm just making this up. Maybe I said it. There's something about having been through such a reality of what we're calling PTSD, that the outer reality begins to reflect not just the night reality, but the day reality. So it's like this house of mirrors that is just, I'm just fucking tired, you know? I don't want to keep having my experience mirrored everywhere I go. And I feel like gathering and opening up the heart level in a safe environment that empowers us to remember together is I believe it's key.
Mhm.
And then having someone like Karen get in someone's face and go, yeah, uh-huh, yeah. I don't know how to do that,
You
but I
just
know that
do
there's a
it.
really important place for it. Or watching Tina doing one of her videos on YouTube, and she's just completely nailing what she's saying, because she's got she's got control of her language, right? So we
Yeah, she
all have
totally
these
does.
different ways. I don't have any of that, but I do have an ability to be present in a spiritually commanding way, and not need anything from anybody else except whatever happens to be coming out of my mouth. I figure if somebody's around me, they're just either drawn or they're repelled, or they don't know what's going on. But they're there. So
You could hold
You're
them all
so
at
funny,
once.
Iris.
It all depends, like you can have 10 million people in one room and,
yeah,
listening to you speak, and they'll all perceive it very different ways. So
because they're
we
supposed to, right?
exactly, we all are being
Yeah,
held in different viewpoints and
yeah,
perceptions. So you exist in that way,
yeah.
in this reality, in those ways. So
There's a word called the alembic. It's the alembic is the soul's distillation process, or an alchemical process, right? So people that know they have to be what you are, what Tina is, what I am, are presences for other people's alembic, for their own soul's need to distill the human condition into something alchemical to create the gold. And so, if that's all I've got figured out, and I'm gone by tomorrow, I'm feeling really good about this conversation, for example. Because we permitted each other to, meet for the first time together, the three of us, have different perceptions, but to want the truth, right?
exactly, common
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. And it's powerful, and I trust in it, and I believe in it also. It's like, I have no doubt that what do I want to say right now? Give me a minute. My soul is saying that out of this conversation is emerging the next level of collective ballast. What's going to help the collective rise into something that it can recognize, that isn't going to have it go running for the hills because it doesn't have a language to contain it. So I know that was way too many words. I knew what I was talking about. To put this just simply, maybe not simply, but in another way, what I believe is happening today, along with other conversations all over the planet, is that there is a reconfiguring of what people thought was real, based on what everybody else told them was real. But we can't just cliff jump unless we've got the ability and the awareness to do it. And most people don't. They just don't. It kills people to cliff jump if they're not ready.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Too many ways to die.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm done. I'm sorry, it was way too many words.
No, that was good. I think what I hear you saying is that we're creating the foundation for them to eventually come into this kind of awareness. And to have like a platform on which to stand when they do slowly wake up into this. And, you know, I'm hoping that more people do. I think that the ripple effect of us having these conversations, and, you know, say 500 people listen to this video, and then, you know, they hold the energy of that and maybe pass it on to someone else, you know, so you never really know the ripple effect in the energy field of a video like this and how it's going to affect the consciousness of the population. And I think the more that we talk about these things, are you hearing that feedback again? Yeah. The more that we talk about these things, the more that we build the foundation. And you know what we hear so often, Iris, is that from people is that, oh my God, like, thank you for saying all of the things that I've been feeling, but can't find anyone else that is also saying it too, because people are afraid to speak the truth, or they're kind of hiding behind spiritual platitudes and bypassing and all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, we've always just been about speaking the truth, no matter how good, bad, or ugly it sounds, and being real and authentic, because people connect with real and authentic. They want to connect with people that they feel, you know, could be their best friend or their neighbor or whatever, not some like spiritual teacher or guru like that. The age of the guru is like over, right? Like we're all just walking each other home. And I think having these conversations and talking about these hard things is really important, because for so long, it's kind of been swept under the rug. It's really been swept under the rug, and people don't talk about these experiences out of fear that they're going to draw more in, or whatever the belief around it is. But I want to thank you, because I think what you faced in that session, I know that wasn't easy. And I think it was really brave of you to face that and to stand up to that, and to then allow the sharing of that information. So,
Yeah,
I
that's
just,
part of the foundation. The
right.
the unspoken is now being spoken. And so we do give permission for people to come out with it, come out of their own closets of secrets or things that you cannot say out loud. This is like safe space where you can say anything and it won't.
Yeah.
We're not going to judge it. We're just kind of like, good. You feel better now because you released that.
Yeah. And how many people, I've heard many people, and I know you just mentioned this yesterday, Iris, you know, not anyone that I don't think anyone that I know personally, but I've heard this comment over and over again about how people say when they get the plague that they feel like something has possessed them. That is a real feeling you hear from people over and over and over again. And even to the point where this comment comes to mind that I saw recently, where this person was saying that ever since he had the plague, he hasn't been able to control the way that he eats. He used to eat really well, and now he's eating thousands of calories a day and things that he would never eat before.
Do
And
these ones have the jab or no?
no,
Oh no. So it's
no.
just its own entity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, and he said that, he expressed that. It feels like it's not me. It feels like it's something else.
Yeah.
Well, they've created such a big monster of this plague that I'm sure that it has its own consciousness. So if you catch it,
That too.
then it's like, whoop, come on in, baby.
That's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Actually, really good point. Thank you for saying that. And it would take a conversation like this to make it safe enough for someone to even enter what you just said and not freak the fuck out from the idea of something so big. But Tina's talking about a client that I saw that I never conversed with her about the plague. I don't do that way. It's just not, I just don't. And the first thing she says to me was, I'm getting over the plague, and it was demonic. I feel like somebody entered my body and stayed there. And I said to her, have you been jabbed? And she said, yes. She, in her mind, thought that I was, on an edge of judging her for not being jabbed. So I could see that the collective is going, yeah, I'm jabbed. It makes me okay, right? But the combination, I think, of the she had 2 jabs and a booster, and then she got sick. And then she was flat on her back for a week. I've never heard her use the word demonic before. I said to her, you used that word before? And she said, no, I never used that word before. I'm using that word with you. She didn't know me. We didn't converse like that. So there's things coming out, I believe, because of the building of the frequency. And I think what we're doing, well, this is what I think anyway, is that we are almost like taking an energetic lasso and we're taking it out of the density and taking the energy into a higher, deeper, different perspective, gathering the energy of that stream of consciousness, bringing it back in and seeding the dream here in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not just these conversations, obviously they're happening all over the world, but for someone like my client to say what she said because she felt safe enough, not even knowing me, she didn't know about any of that with me.
Mm-hmm.
She said it anyway. So I trust that whatever's happening is a building in process.
Yeah.
It's being brick by brick supported from the etheric, from the cosmos, from God knows we need the help. As we're waking up, as we're awakening to we are that, I believe that we're getting the help everywhere as well. So thank you for saying that, Karen, at the end. And I want to say something about that before. I know we got to go pretty soon. I realize we've been on the phone for a long time. That statement was powerful because it is offering people a permission to look at something that is not just something that is affecting them in their body, something you catch, something you take a drug for, something you go to bed for a week, and then you just get over it. This is letting people know that it's got tentacles, some kind. That was really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, think about the fear alone that was generated.
Exactly. This is worldwide. This is not just
Worldwide.
confined to one country or a city. This is worldwide creation of that collective fear.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen just from some human and some, well, I'm trying to censor my words here, but just some human that's got an idea in his or her head.
No, this whole thing feels, the whole thing feels to me like the negative alien agenda is behind it. It just makes so much sense now, knowing what we know.
Right. And it feels as though with this energy that has around and has captured worldwide majority of the collective, that when they're under that much fear, it gives you that paralysis and they'll inject you without having to abduct you. Boom.
Wow. You're on a roll.
It's true, because I think there was someone in our group that mentioned she was injected in a dream by what looked like nurses, but I don't think they were really nurses.
They're like the fake nurses with the white hats and the
Yeah, they
little
were.
cross.
Yeah.
Like a Halloween
Yeah, that's
costume.
how I saw them. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's happening. The astral attacks and abductions, and it's happening way more than we know. And I think we need to be aware of that and question our beliefs, question our thoughts, question the programs, and, you know, are they really ours, or was this something that was implanted?
One of the things that came out of the second session with Tina. Okay, I'm starting to glitch again. Glitch. Hold on. It's right there. Oh, the idea that people who chose not to be jabbed, who are making every effort to remain sovereign, were targeted because it was almost like a homeopathic seeding process. If you could get a certain portion of the population and inject in the biosphere of the brain a group think, and then put us back on the planet, you know, without really remembering what happened, that's the population that they're after, that didn't take the Kool-Aid, right? But like, I think what I just heard you say, Karen, is that the people that did choose to are more amenable to just being whatever, but I don't know what the right word is here, but am I on the same page with you? Am I close?
Oh, I was just saying like there those that are in that program or that are in the fear program or are not sovereign, I guess, like not even don't even have that word in their vocabulary.
Yeah.
Are easy to, they're so malleable. You could do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
Mold them into what you want them to.
So they don't even necessarily have to be abducted, right? I think
No, I was just saying they abducted them in without
that's
having
it.
to abduct them.
That's it. So I think I'm on the same
Yeah.
page with you. I just wanted to make sure. We're just bringing a couple things together from that last session.
Can we
That's what
take
we
a quick
call bamboozled.
can we take a quick break?
What are our takeaways today?
What are our
Anybody want
takeaways?
to take a
Takeaways today.
do we even want to go there? Or is that too whatever?
No, you could say I think our takeaway is we haven't figured it all out, but I think we figured out enough to be onto something. Where there's always more to discover. And I feel like with our everyday, as we balance our everyday 3D and our investigative lives in the background, like it's it's a good observation of where when we create a safe space in our environment, we can really see what reality is for us.
Yeah.
And then coexisting with the reality of the rest and trying to navigate a balanced way of being without being too obvious and suspicious. Was
I
that too much?
also, no, that was great. I also want to add to, when I was talking about the energetic attacks that were happening in the beginning of the video, I just want to add the second half of that to empower people, because what I did when I noticed that was happening, and Karen and I tuned in, we saw this weird thing that was happening etherically in the sky above my house, right? And
Yeah.
because it was affecting Coco so much, I was able to really channel some righteous anger and get pissed and blast all of this shit out of my field
Mhm.
to the point where those attacks weren't happening anymore. So I just want to say that we are so much more powerful than we know. And what happens is when those energetic attacks are coming in, we start to shrink, and we shrink downwards and inwards instead of expanding our energy out, because it is hard, right? When that's happening, you're confused, you don't know where it's coming from, and all of those things. What I want to say is we don't even really need to know where it's coming from. All we need to do is channel enough energy within ourselves to get pissed enough to blast your field out, push it all out, and stand your ground and stand in your sovereignty and your power. Because that night, all of it stopped. Coco slept through the night. I slept through the night. There were no more energetic, hot flashes and him running around and like all of that stuff. It all stopped. So that's how powerful we are. And that's the message that I would like to share with people, is that all we need to do is remember that power and channel that and use it. We have to remember how to use it.
Yeah.
So,
That's probably why they mind wipe us all the time, is so that we don't remember that we are powerful.
What was that phrase you used?
I was saying that that's probably why they mind wipe us all the time.
Mind wipe. Thank you. Just to add on to Tina's use of the word remember, I shouldn't say that word. I want to open to the idea or the experience that remembering bypasses the left brain, that there's a way to awaken that is like what I call the language of the heart, or a synthesis of left and right, a living organic language that we remember somewhere, and that the act of wanting to recover a powerful embodiment that is beyond this place is completely possible.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing it right now. This conversation is doing it right now. For me, remembering is a real beautiful, sacred, feminine word. And I just happen to, I just really believe that the return of the feminine is really one of the keys to, I'm not sure what word to use next, but remembering is a very feminine word, as is allowing, returning, all those words. And that's going to be a balance to the end of an era where the distortion of the male dominated experiment, it goes through a change. I'm not bashing, I'm just saying I think that the experiment went downhill a little bit.
a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Iris, I appreciate you coming on today to
Mhm.
talk with
Fun.
us.
It was really fun being with both of you.
Yeah. Do you want to share where people can find you?
That's great. My website is one long word with no dashes or periods. It's the light and dark of day.com. That's me.
Yep.
You can also, if you can't remember any of that, you can probably just, in a search bar, you could just do Iris Intuitive or something. Iris Intuitive, Manasquan, New Jersey. That'll do it too. Something like that.
I'll link your website below.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any final thoughts, ladies?
No, I was just getting a thought though, like the people, like when you were saying something about being left-brained. I'm not left-brained at all. I know Tina is. But I feel as though that is in a way a coping mechanism where you're trying to logically, come to a conclusion of things that you cannot explain with words or whatever. I think that's just the way that we function. Like we're trying to bypass through the left brain and be like, tell me that this is like, there has to be some kind of like explanation for that. But shit's happening in the background that is not at all in the radar of everything else. So I just want to end with that.
Yeah. Like when you're what's coming up for me. So the weird thing we saw in the sky was like this hybrid military lobster being coming from Karen's right brain, obviously, because I would never see that.
Military lobster. Yeah. I know,
Military
like
with his tank
Yeah.
shooting energy blasts
yeah.
at
I was saying it
me.
was like a red tank or something like that. It was weird, right?
It was a tank. And so what's so interesting is as we were doing that clearing, someone texted me and she was sending me like Christmas postcards from the 1800s. And one of those was a tank with an angel in the tank shooting out like Christmas presents. I'm like, what is happening
Right at the same time. It's
at the
crazy.
same time? Yeah.
Yeah.
I anticipate we're going to be seeing a whole lot more of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That kind of real strange rift energy, right?
Yeah. Breaking
There's
through
been
the
a
left
lot of
brain.
that. Yeah.
Nothing's gonna,
Yeah.
you're just gonna have to let the door open and be like, okay, okay, lobster, military lobster,
Yeah, but clearing that lobster, it worked. It worked.
whatever it is. That's what we tell people. We're like, you don't necessarily have to make sense of like, okay, I saw a military lobster. Whatever it is, we're getting rid of it anyway. So it doesn't matter what we see or if it's a real experience or
Right.
not. Something is getting done energetically. And I think we just create these things just so that we can have something a little tangible that we
Yeah.
can work with, and then we just blast it out. So my head said military lobster. I'm like, all right then.
I love the way your words educate people. A real sweetness and kindness and simplicity and humor and
Yeah, simplicity. I like those.
Yeah.
I like simple personally.
Me too.
And I don't, I mean, some people think that's a demeaned word, but
No.
we're so overwhelmed with so many words that if someone can come through, 'cause look what you just said. We just took a military lobster and we out pictured it so that we could clear some frequency. That's what I meant by simple. I found that really beautiful. New catchword, military lobster.
Yeah, and macaroni day.
He was a hybrid though. He was a lobster hybrid.
Guess it's time to go, huh?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have so we have lobster. What was it? Military lobster and macaroni day.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Changing the
everybody.
world, ladies.
Yeah.
My Jersey
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for your company. It felt really good.
Good.
Really good.
Too.
I
It
needed
was
it.
fun. Yeah. It's good to bring like seriousness and then a little bit of not to be
Levity.
so serious, not to be so serious
Yeah,
at the same time. So you have a beautiful day. We'll probably do this chat again. I mean,
I'd love it.
Yeah.
We'll see what the reaction is, amongst your subscribers. So
yeah.
I think it'll
All
be
right.
okay.
Well, let me just tie this up. Say thank you to everyone for watching today. Iris's website will be linked down below, and we appreciate you. Be gentle with yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Iris, hang out for a second. And yeah, that's it. See you next time.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Peace.
Bye.